So they say when a man wants a woman, nothing will stop him from pursuing her. Well, that's not completely true, all right? And not only is it not true, it's creating a very misguided perception and a lot of disconnect with what the reality is of dating and relationships and even some of the struggles that men are facing. But this video is not just about the struggles men face. It's about helping women understand some of the things that you guys have been told that isn't really accurate, all right? And it centers around this whole when a man loves a woman, when he wants a woman, and all the things that he will do and won't do. Now, I have all kinds of videos about signs he's in love with you and all that you can check out. But again, this is going to highlight some very specific topics, very specific things I've heard over the years. So let's start with the line I opened this video with. When a man wants a woman, there's nothing that will stop him from pursuing her. This is incorrect, plain and simple. And let me start off by giving a story. I remember that there was a client I had, and she was dealing with this guy. And in this scenario, he was considered, I don't want to use the word beneath her, but not on her social status, not on her level, okay? She was a very accomplished woman. He was more of an average guy. He was not as educated, things of that nature. But they had a very strong connection, very strong attraction. However, she was concerned about her family accepting this man. They were telling her, no, you can do better, all these things, because they were focused more so on his resume, all right? Now, I want to say for maybe the first 8 months of knowing each other, like, he is trying. So there is, to a certain extent, a level of, if a man has interest and you show any kind of interest back, he will be willing, and that's a key there. You're showing some interest back. He will be willing to pursue, right? But I want to say by the 8th month, he stopped. He pretty much threw his hands in the air and said, enough's enough. I can't do this anymore. And she was upset. Not at herself, not at the family, but at him. Because in her mind, she's been told if the man loves you, he will stop at nothing to pursue you, ignoring the fact that you were not completely welcoming his pursuit. You were making him essentially chase. And there's a limit to that, all right? And it's important for women to understand that because, again, not only are women being told when a man loves you, he'll pursue you, but there are women being told the man should chase you and all these things, not considering that everyone has a limit. And more specifically, when a man loves you, to chase, to pursue, to go after you, and you not fully embrace him hurts like hell. I say all the time, it is easier to chase lust than it is to chase love. And what I mean by that is this. When we love someone, and again, the key word is chasing. When we love someone and we're trying to be with them, and there is a level of resistance, because when you're chasing, all right, you're essentially, if you paint the picture, you're running in this direction, they're running after you, okay? You're not running towards them. They got to run after you. So there's a level of resistance there. When you are giving resistance to someone who loves you, who cares about you, who wants to be with you, it's very hard to continuously take over and over and over again. It is emotionally beating that man down and breaking him down. He will at some point not be able to keep pushing anymore. All right? At best case scenario, he'll fall away. Maybe after a certain amount of time, he'll regain some strength and come back. But that's if he doesn't move on to someone else, or you may want, there's all kinds of other things to discuss here. But the point is, he can't keep pursuing in love if there is resistance continuously. However, in lust, so let's consider the man who just wants to sleep with you, and you keep resisting him, right? Or even the man who says he wants a relationship with you, and you keep resisting him. It's easier for that guy to keep chasing because your resistance does not hit his heart. it does not make him feel bad emotionally because he's just fixated on conquering this desire of having you. All right. So he can keep chasing, which is why you'll see some scenarios where the guy who is not best for you, the guy who is looking to just use you, take advantage of you, he won't go away for nothing. Like this joker will keep at it. You can keep shutting the door. He will not stop because he is fixated on, I want what I want for my benefit, and I don't care. Like, it doesn't hurt me to have her say no. It doesn't bother me. He's infatuated. But the guy who loves you can only take so much. So you've got to understand that when they say stuff like the man who loves you will stop at nothing to pursue you, only if you're meeting his love with love as well. Only if you're reciprocating, if you're showing him that he is welcomed to pursue, then yes, I do think that at that point he will. The only caveat would be this man is damaged, he has other issues, and so that's another thing to consider. There are scenarios out there that exist where men have been badly hurt. And I think that sometimes women have become blind to the reality of how many men have been hurt out there. And so they may meet a woman that they truly love, but the pursuit of that love is too scary for that man to face right now. And so his unwillingness to pursue isn't because there's not love there, but because there's too much fear and damage that exists within him. All right? That's another scenario that can happen. But I want to give one more. One more scenario of a man who could love you and not truly go after it is, let's say, a friend. All right? There's a lot of situations where a woman has a male friend or acquaintance or maybe just someone from afar, friend of a family, who knows? And that man in his mind is deeply in love with you. He would do anything to be with you. But he doesn't think you're interested. And it kind of goes back to what I said earlier of, if he knows his love is welcomed, then yes, then he will pursue it. And only him, being damaged or not really being into you would stop him from taking that path. But if he doesn't know it's welcomed, or you've been dealing with a guy that you shouldn't be dealing with, you in this BS relationship that you don't belong in, and he's on the sideline, hell, again, it could be as your friend, hoping and waiting for an opening to occur. And until then, he doesn't really pursue and you don't know. And I've said this story a million times, so I'm not going to say it again, but I don't know if you watched my previous videos about the two friends where the guy gets married, the woman finally lets him know she's in love with him after they're married. He tells her, I'm in love with you too. But they had no idea that they were madly in love with each other as friends until after he married somebody else. All right? Because yes, despite there being love, fear and a belief that this person does not feel the same way can cause people to hold back. So I'm just presenting that to you, and we got more to talk about. But this whole idea that he'll stop at nothing, listen, we're human beings. We go through different things. And there's so much more to consider in these dynamics than just, love will just give him all the fuel he needs. I wish it was that simple. I really wish it was. So here's another quote I've seen floating around. When a man loves a woman, he will not put himself in a position to lose her. And this is, again, a very misguided perception because it insinuates that by simply being in love with someone or loving them makes a man fully knowledgeable and aware of what can cause friction in the relationship. And though some of you listening to this would think, well, of course it should. How would he not know how to act if he loves the woman? Because your triggers and the next woman's triggers may not be the same. And his understanding of that may not have been developed yet. Unfortunately, love does not automatically provide wisdom. All right? And there could be a man who loves you, but does not know how to love you, how you want to receive love. So many of you are familiar with the 5 love languages, right? And, if you're not, then it's like basically quick synopsis. There's 5 different love languages: words of affirmation, acts of service, physical touch. I can't remember. What was it? Quality time. Anything else I'm missing? I think I got them all. But if I didn't, you get the idea. There's different ways that people like to receive love. But what you find is that the way they like to receive it tends to be the automatic default of how they give it. So you may have a man who likes acts of service, right? And quality time. And so to him, because that's how he likes to receive love, he assumes that his acts of service to you and him giving you his time is expressing and showing to you, I love you. And he does not understand how maybe his neglect of touch, affection, how his neglect of maybe gifts, because you may like little gifts here and there, not an extravagant, but little things. He may not understand how him not engaging in those things is making you feel unloved. So going back to the quote, when a man loves a woman, he will not put himself in a position to lose her. Well, again, he loves you, but he doesn't understand that he may lose you because he's neglecting you in the way that you need. And that's why it's important to understand that we must always take time to discuss with each other what we need in this relationship. We have to, again, understand love does not automatically equal wisdom. It does not automatically equal awareness. And so that is developed through communication, through a level of practice, all right, and understanding of what each other needs. So again, I just bring it up because I see too many times where women will see whether a lack of action or it may be on the flip side. He does a certain thing that you find offensive, that he didn't realize was genuinely a problem. And he's not trying to hurt you. He's not trying to disrespect you. He just doesn't get it yet. All right? And that's why I always say the greater measure of a man's love is not his initial action, but it's how he responds to the expression of your concerns and feelings. You see, it is very easy for a man to love you and still get it wrong initially, because again, he does not fully understand you and your needs as of yet. But once you have a discussion with him and say, I don't like this, or this is what I need from you, if he does not make the necessary corrections to improve upon these things, then we can say this man does not love you. He's not serious enough about this relationship. But if he does, he will be making an effort to make things better. And so I would, if I had to change the quote, I would say when a man loves a woman, he's willing to make the necessary adjustments to make the relationship better. Plain and simple. So here's another one. And this one, I don't dislike this one because it's very accurate, but I do believe it needs to be discussed. And that is when a man loves a woman, she becomes his weakness. Now, the full quote, I believe, is she becomes his weakness and he becomes her strength. But let's leave the whole he becomes her strength part and just focus on she becomes his weakness. Again, this is very accurate, all right? And let's understand what I mean here. So let's paint the picture. There's this man, he can be very masculine, tough guy, very on top of handling his business. You know what I'm saying? Very desirable man. Woman meets him. This man is now falling deeply for this woman. He is smitten, and it might happen even really fast. Like, because here's the thing. I won't go too deep into this, but people sometimes paint people finding love very fast or feeling like they're in love very fast as this negative thing. But I think we have to consider that when you get to a certain age and you've dealt with enough people, when someone stands out from the rest, it hits you really fast. It doesn't take you long to notice it. And so this occurrence of falling deeply for someone very fast isn't as abnormal as some would make it out to be. But that needs a whole video by itself. Either way, let's go back to the scenario. He falls for her. And now this very masculine man can become a lot softer, a lot more in his feelings, okay? And to some extent, that can be welcomed and good. The woman wants the man to be expressive. The woman wants to feel that love from him, wants him to tap into that side of him, wants to feel like he's really into her. But unfortunately, because a lot of men don't know or haven't learned how to handle that, and essentially what I call love in their masculine, maintain this masculine frame while still being loving and expressive, it can start to cross a line where it becomes unattractive. It can cross a line where he starts to actually look weak. So remember the quote, she becomes his weakness, and now, yes, he becomes weak when he's with her. He may find himself letting her getting away with things that are not healthy. He may find himself, being accommodating to the point where he becomes a yes man. Again, crossing lines that at some point actually become unattractive to the woman. And so the reason why it's important for us to discuss this is because I have seen many situations fall apart because that man became so quote unquote weak with that woman that he became unattractive to her. And it wasn't that they could not have had an amazing relationship. It's just that there needs to be an understanding by that man of how to, again, what I call love in your masculine, but also an understanding by the woman that, listen, when a man loves you, that's not the easiest place to navigate, all right? Because again, we don't live, and I say we because I'm a man, we don't live in our emotions as long or as much as the average woman does. Because of how we are wired as human beings, I would argue like the woman has more experience working within her emotions, where the man does not. For various reasons, the way we're raised, the way society makes it out to be, so on and so forth. And so when he finds himself there with a woman he really is into and loves, he may not always know how to properly navigate it. And I'm not saying this should be the woman's burden, all right? And that a woman should just have to teach him how to be more of a man or to remain masculine in this situation. But I do think there has to be a level of understanding that his struggle is because of love. Not because of just, you gotta see it for what it is, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. But again, it is a very accurate statement, but it is something that I think we need to work on in relationships and understand how to maintain that balance. Because I do believe, I'm a firm believer that a relationship needs a proper balance of masculine and feminine to thrive. And when we lose that balance, everything can get thrown off. All right, so I got another one, but before I mention it, real quick, get your copy of the best-selling book, The Man God Has for You. It has sold, hundreds of thousands of copies. Seriously, it has. Thousands of reviews. Click the link in the description or in the comment section. You are going to love this book. So let's get to the next one, and let me warn you in advance and give you a disclaimer. This may trigger some of you, all right? But please understand, I am only discussing it out of the desire to shed light, to give you honesty and truth. And I say all these things with love, all right? This is not an attack on any of you, but this is just the reality. So the other belief that has been passed around by many is when a man loves you, gaining weight would not be an issue for him. Now listen, I do think that when a man truly loves a woman, he is much more lenient with her than with the average woman. He's much more flexible with certain things, like I'm just going to use this as an example. This may sound ridiculous to some of you, but let's say a man is really into big breasts, right? But he falls in love with a woman that's not big breasted. Like, he's going to make that exception for her because he loves her. And it's like, I don't care with her because there's real love there. But when there isn't love with the women that he's dating, he may be a stickler for, oh no, her breasts are too small, I'm not dating her. And that literally happens. Like, I'm giving you some stuff that is real. So there is a level of more flexibility. However, there's a line. There's a point where, yes, the gaining of weight can negatively impact the relationship. Now, let me make something very clear. This applies both ways. I'm talking about it from the angle of the woman gaining, but let's just be honest here. If a man gains weight, it can have a negative impact. And I'm going to say this. There are a lot of women who would say, oh no, I would never leave a man if he gained weight. You're right. A lot of women will not leave that man, but you might become less affectionate. You may desire him less sexually. And there's other things that will start to fall off because of this. So you still lose. It still has a negative impact. So going to men, can the argument be made that more men would be willing to walk away for that? More, yes. But plenty of men remain with their partners despite the gaining of what would be considered in their relationship too much weight. Because if you notice, I'm not going to put no specific number because it varies from relationship to relationship. What is too much weight to one person might be some damn good weight to somebody else, okay? And it varies. But these different couples, these different men, they have their line. And so the reason why it's important, why I feel I have to talk about this, is because when I've sat down, and this is especially with married couples, and women will say, or the wife will say to me, he doesn't want to have sex with me anymore. He doesn't love me anymore. And I would say, no, the issue isn't that he doesn't love you. The issue is attraction. And love and attraction are not the same thing. All right? A romantic relationship is the combinations of attraction and love. And of course, other factors as well. But those are two of the big main ingredients. When we're attracted to somebody and we love them, that allows us to be in a romantic relationship with them. When you remove any of those, either or, you remove attraction, you go from relationship to just friendship. Plenty of people love each other, but because there's no attraction whatsoever, they remain friends. Or flip it. If there is attraction, but there is no love, they will remain casual, sex buddies, they might date, but it doesn't go into serious committed relationship in most cases. Some people might still cross that line. But the point is, you need both to not just come together, but to sustain it in a healthy way. So it's important for a woman to understand that when things start to go left because of things like weight, don't default to he does not love me. Because when you start to believe he does not love me anymore, and you hold on to this idea that love would make him still want me the same way, that doesn't allow you to separate the issues in a way that it can be properly addressed. Because again, there is love and there is attraction. And so we have to nurture both the love and the attraction. We can't let one or the other fall to the wayside because that can destroy a relationship. And so again, though I will repeat, men, when they are in love with a woman, are much more flexible with her. They all have a line. And I do think it's very important for both men and women to, as soon as possible, find out what that line is. I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is they don't want to come across like looks is a big deal or attraction is a big deal. So they'll say stuff in the beginning like, oh, I don't care how you look. I'm going to still love you. Okay, let's see 5 years from now. Let's see when that person gains X amount of weight. You talking that, but are you going to actually be able to back it up? And again, we also have to remember, it's not about just staying together. Plenty of people stay together despite the physical changes, but they're no longer pouring into each other in the way that the relationship needs. So again, if we can establish the line as early as possible and be as honest as possible with each other. So women tell the man, hey, you get to this point, we got a problem. I need you to keep it from here and under, all right? Or we can reevaluate things when you get to this level, and maybe because if you're carrying the weight in a nice way, then maybe it's not a big of a deal, right? And vice versa. We need to have these honest discussions, because I cannot tell you how many relationships and marriages I have seen destroyed because of this issue. But I'm gonna finish with this. They mask the issue. So it starts with the lack of attraction, but then it turns into disrespect, lack of affection, of course, lack of sexual intimacy, so on and so forth. So when you see these two people get divorced or break up, they make it about all those other things that piled on. But what it really started with, what the real root issue was, the attraction. So we cannot ignore that. All right, so let's keep this going. Another one is when a man loves a woman, and this one was brought to me by one of my friends. When a man loves a woman, he will be patient in her process of accepting a good man. So now here, I'm smiling because sometimes I nervously laugh. Just know I'm not laughing at you, all right? I'm laughing like, okay, how the hell am I going to address this right now? That's where the laugh is coming from. So what I've seen happen in a lot of situations is women who have been hurt, women who have not been healed, they reach a point where they're very skeptical of believing in the good that exists out there. They're very skeptical of a man genuinely being a good man, to the point where when he presents himself, she may even say to herself, he's too good to be true. And sometimes, many times, that can lead to self-sabotage, that can lead to her running away, things of that nature. But again, going back to the quote, what some women will believe is, well, if he really loves me, he will deal with my struggle in this. He will deal with the process and the time it's going to take for me to accept the good man he is. And again, this is accurate to a certain extent. And the extent will vary on two things. A very experienced man, or this is his first rodeo. Because I would say this, if this is his first time facing an issue like this, and let's go with the premise that he is really into this woman, all right? He will, because men are led to believe that just keep loving her and showing up and showing her you're serious, he will believe that if he does that, in time, you will come around, all right? But the unfortunate reality is that if you don't take it upon yourself to heal, there's nothing he can do to make you come around. You will always find a way to find the bad. You will always find a way to validate running or not believing in the good. You have to heal, and he can't heal you. That's a personal choice you have to make. So with that guy who's never dealt with this before, he will deal with it to a certain extent until he comes to the realization that this is a battle he can't win on his own. All right? How long that takes will vary, but he will give it more time. On the other end, if you're dealing with a man who's experienced this before, he's less likely to deal with the process again. Not to say that he is not open to being with you. Not to say that he does not hope y'all can work this out. But he has already learned that he cannot heal the woman. He's already learned that that's a futile battle. So his approach would be more so like, hey, when you figure out what you want, when you figure out that you're ready, when you can heal and make this work, we can talk. But I'm not going to sit here and try to drag you to that finish line, because he has matured in a way of understanding that's not an accomplishable thing. It doesn't work that way. So again, it is accurate to an extent, but as a woman, do not put it on a man to have to heal you in that way, because he cannot. That is your choice. That's the process you got to go through. And the sooner you go through it, you don't want to wait till you meet a man to finally say, okay, now it's time for me to do this. Nah, if you're single, do it now. But if you already met that man and you're already struggling, get to healing as soon as possible. That's the only way it's going to work. And now here's one more to consider that they talk about a lot. And that is, when a man loves a woman, you won't have to teach him how to love you. And this is absolutely false. All right? And I'll even use a quote I've used before. I said, I have a quote that I've posted, and I hope I'm saying it correctly because I'm just going off the top of my head, where it says, never beg a man for what you deserve. The right man will know what you need. All right? Never beg a man for what you desire. The right man will know what you deserve. Something to that extent. The point is this. The only reason I allow myself to post that is because of the key word beg. Because that to me is accurate. You never have to beg a man that you love to love you correctly. You never have to beg him to learn, and you don't got to go through all that. But that doesn't mean you don't have to explain. It doesn't mean you don't have to ask for certain things. Because he may not be aware. He can love you, but not know how to love you. This is extremely possible. As we talked about earlier with the 5 love languages and things of that nature, we got to understand that how we love and receive love is very different for people. All right? And we can't just go off the assumption that this person should know better and that's just the way it should be. No, like we got to sit and we got to talk about these things. We got to discuss these things because we have to learn each other and understand that no matter how much we learned initially about each other, relationships are a constant renewal of relearning each other, constantly teaching each other, because as human beings, we continue to evolve. We continue to maybe become curious of new things, or we open up in different ways. We tap into different aspects of ourselves. And so love in a relationship requires patience with each other and understanding that, you know what, they may not always know when there's this new thing that you're interested in. They may not always understand how now this thing that didn't bother you before now triggers you for some reason. There's various things that can happen over the course of time. So him loving you does not mean he will not need to be taught how to love you. And you have to be open to that. And again, he will have to be open to teaching you. And even if we don't use the word teach, we have to be open to discussing it with each other. And allowing each other to become aware of these new things or these existing things that maybe we didn't dive into deep enough before. All right. And again, what will show you his love is his willingness to receive that information, his willingness to implement that information, not just that he should have known it off the top of his head because, oh, well, then if he loves you, why wouldn't he know? Because he's a human being. Same way you're a human being and you're not going to know everything either. All right. So we have to humble ourselves in that manner and always be willing to grow with each other. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. A lot of men are jaded. A lot of men, contrary to what society may believe, have been burned, have been let down, have been used, have been manipulated. We can go on and on. The bottom line is